Hello and welcome to my July wrap up. I actually read a lot in July, so I'm going to get straight into it. First up, I read Colleen Hoover's Slammed and hated every second of it. I've done a whole video review down below and I put little tabs in bits to back up my points. So the video isn't me just saying I don't like it, but I'm not going to tell you why. I tell you exactly why and what bits within it made me dislike the book so much. So yeah, I feel like I've spoken about this book enough on my channel. So down below is my rant review. This is An African Eulogy by Ben Okri. This is a poetry collection and Ben did win the 1991 Man Booker Prize and his poetry is gorgeous. He's from Nigeria and in this it's a lot about the corruption of governments, but then it has a mix of like love and how love makes you feel. There's also a really fantastic one which just kind of broke me unexpectedly, about a homeless man getting up in the time before dawn when everything's quiet and still, and then the flowers start buzzing and you can hear whispers and the world is like erupting again, and how kind of violent that is. This was very moving. The ones that I found moving the most were the ones about corruption of government and the blood of innocent people, and how the people at the top who are controlling the whole thing, they'll live in perfect peace and harmony and their lives will be completely fine, and it's the everyday people who really have to shed their blood. I mean, that was, wow. This is so moving, so beautifully written. It's got such a great rhythm with his poetry. I loved this. I then read this amazing sassy book called Wine Speak by Ronald Searles. And it's The Wicked World of Wine Tasting. Basically, he's a genius. He's taken well-known wine phrases, like full-bodied with great character, and then he's made these absolutely ridiculous sketches go with them, and it's so funny. There's a lot of nudity, let me tell you that. Somewhat lacking in finesse. I think it's a genius idea and it shows how absurd the words are people use to talk about wine, so to put it into the character of people who fit those wine descriptions is hilarious. I loved it. It's very, very sassy, a lot of nudity. Loved it. I then read a children's book. This is Ellie and Granny Mac by Elizabeth McLennan, illustrated by Sue Williams. And it's about a little girl who always spends her summer in Greece with her grandmother. And that grandmother can't spend it with her this year, so she has to go to her other grandma's house who lives in Edinburgh. And this is just so sweet. It's the things they do in Edinburgh. But it'd be very good if you had a child who didn't have a relationship with one of their grandparents for whatever reason and you wanted them to have a relationship with them. That can be frightening for a child to just bring a stranger in. So if you gave them a book like this to be like, you'll have a fun time with them as well, maybe you'll be able to, you know, you'll feel the same as you do about your grandparents who you've always kind of been near. I thought this was really sweet and cute. This is Rudyard Kipling's Just So Stories and I loved this. It's a short story collection for children and it's about how animals came to be certain things. So how the elephant got his trump, how the camel got his hump, and they're such funny, lovely little stories. So I've done a whole video review on this which I'll link down below, where in that review I go into every single story. I give you a plot summary and I tell you what I thought about it, because I didn't like all the stories within this, which I say within my review. So I'll link that down below, but overall I did absolutely adore this. I then read Nadine Dreams of Home by Bernard Ashley. This is about a girl who's from Goma. The rebels have forced her out of her country. It's a war-torn country. She had to come over to England with her mum and her little brother, and she misses her dad and she misses her country and she can't speak English and everything's very frightening and scary for her. It has these kind of computer graphic illustrations within it, almost comic book style. I thought this was really good and really impactful until the end, which was very Hollywood, let's make everything nice and smiley, and that really let it down for me. So I didn't really enjoy that. I've just finished The House That Groaned by Carrie Fransman. This is a graphic novel and this is, the art style is very cartoony, kind of childlike. It's got this blue tint over all the pages. And this is about people that live in this apartment building. So we meet everyone in every single room and we find out about their stories and their life and how they're living now. And then some of them have weird quirks, and so we find out why those quirks started. So it flashes back to their childhood or to their past or to their marriage and different things to try and understand why they are the people they are today. I liked that concept. I thought that was nice. I really liked the woman who, she runs a slimming class. I really liked how we found out she was overweight before. She was actually obese. and she was saying to him like, I was obese, and then it flashed back to her marriage when she was obese. And I found that whole thing very interesting, very sad. I thought this was okay. I mean, I wasn't blown away by it. I didn't massively love the art style, to be honest with you. This one I quite liked. It's an old lady who is blending into the background of everything. So she's sitting on her chair and she's blending into the chair, and you get the sense that she's lived in that apartment building so long that she's just become a part of the apartment, and that she can't tear herself away from it. I found her quite interesting, and she lives indoors. She doesn't go out ever. So maybe that's why she's become attached to it. I thought it was alright though. Like, I wasn't blown away by it. I probably won't remember it. It was good though. It wasn't terrible. It just wasn't anything special to me. Then on to Beatrix Potter. I went on a Beatrix Potter kind of binge. So I read The History of the Tale of Peter Rabbit. Gorgeous book. This is non-fiction, and this is the letters between Beatrix Potter and her publishers of the story of Peter Rabbit. So it's just a series of letters, and they're talking about type, font, things they want her to change in it. She basically wrote, and this is what this is about, wrote to a little boy who she knew about a little rabbit because the boy was sick. She wanted to cheer him up, and she used to write these little stories. And then years later she said to the boy, have you still got those letters? Because I'd like to make them into a book. The Tale of Peter Rabbit. And she did. And she published it herself initially because no publishers would have it. And then Warner said, oh, actually, we really like these books, but we want you to change certain things. So within the book, it tells you what wordings have changed, what pictures have changed. It was really interesting looking into just the Tale of Peter Rabbit, and I think that was fascinating. And anyone who wants to get into publishing, to see what a big process that is to get a book published and how much they wanted to change of it, but still keep the initial charm. Found that really interesting. And then read another non-fic on Beatrix Potter. This is by a National Trust. And this is more about her later life. So in her early life she really cared for her parents, and then she got engaged to someone. Peter Rabbit was a success, and the person who she was engaged to died. And then after that she decided that she wanted to save the countryside. So she got friends with a solicitor, and every house that came on the market that was going to be turned into like a tourist attraction or even a business, she said, I want the houses to stay for the villagers in the Lake District, and I don't want any buildings to be built on this beautiful land. So her solicitor friend would phone her up and she would buy it, and then she became a farmer. And this is all about that. It's about her later life. As you can see, there's a picture of her on the front there. And I think people see Beatrix Potter as this very dainty, elegant woman, which she really wasn't. She was very mucky and liked playing in the mud, and was fascinated with breeding sheep and fixing roofs, and was very larger than life character. And people say that she did have a shyness, because in this it's got real testimonies from people who worked for her, that she was shy and reserved, but then when she got speaking she had these amazing stories and everyone would crowd around to listen to her because she was so interesting. So this I feel like is a really great true portrayal of Beatrix Potter. And then spoiler, she went on to marry the solicitor, the little saucy beast. So it's got pictures of the Lake District and things about her life, and then when she died she gave her properties and land to the National Trust, which basically in the UK they protect land, so you can't build on it. You can go and visit National Trust sites. And they didn't make her perfect. They did talk about her stubbornness and how she sometimes had a bit of a temper if things were going wrong. I really like that they didn't glamorise her too much. It was very realistic and funny. Loved it. I then decided to read 2 Beatrix Potter books. The Tale of Miss Tiddly-Winkle, which it starts with a little girl has lost her handkerchief and apron, and then she wanders into this poor little hedgehog's house, and the hedgehog goes in the fields, collects everyone's things that they've lost, washes it and hands it back to them. She's a slave to the animals. This was really sweet. And this one I actually preferred. This is The Tale of Piglin Bland, and this is about a mother pig has all these piglets and she doesn't want them. She just decides get rid of them. So she gets rid of them all, and Piglin Bland is one of them, and she sends him off to market. He gets lost, he loses his brother, he ends up in this man's house. His mother's like, be careful of eggs and bacon. And I was like, oh my. Very sinister books they are. So if you like Mary Poppins or that kind of sinister child fiction genre, you'll like Beatrix Potter. Some of them are snuggly, like this one, very snuggly, very lovely, but she can have a sinister side, like The Tale of Squirrel Nutkin. Speak about it so much. Love it. It's very sinister. So he then ends up in this man's house who obviously wants to eat him, and he finds out that this man has got a female pig who he's kidnapped and kept, and the two pigs run away together, and it's really nice, but it's really like bizarre and kind of a bit harrowing. I then read a really hyped book, Rat Queens, Volume 1. This is a graphic novel, and I liked the gore, I liked the relationship between the Rat Queens, but I just didn't get the storyline, or really wasn't that into it, to be fair. It's about a load of these women who fight off evil, but they are also kind of vandals, and they go into their town and they vandalise buildings and they smash up shops. Just for a laugh, for the fun of it. And so someone in the town decides to get revenge and kill them because they're sick and tired of their shop being smashed up, and you're supposed to feel sorry for the Rat Queens and be like, how could you kill someone just because they've smashed up your shop and da-da. But there's a bit in it where one of them, they get really drunk, and one of them says to a shopkeeper, I'm going to burn your shop down to the ground, and they all laugh. And I didn't get the humour, I didn't get it. They're like anti-heroes but heroes, but you're supposed to feel sorry for them, but I can't feel sorry for them. I'm not going to read on. Also, there's a lot of swearing, and cartoons swearing cringes me out. It makes my skin it's just something very cringy about that. And all their like sass is literally them swearing at each other. That's not sass. Sass is like witty humour, like loud, you know, drag queen humour basically. It's not just swearing in someone's face. I didn't enjoy this, but then I didn't think it was totally terrible, because I think the way the gore was drawn and everything, for a horror fan, absolutely thought that was fantastic. So it's just sad that it didn't really have a story. This is Evening Primrose by Copano Maltwa. I've done a full video review on this book. This is my best book of the year. This was absolutely stunning. So I'm going to link down below the full video review if you want to know more in depth about the story and why I loved it so much, because this was just, oh, breathtakingly good. This is by a South African author, and it's set in South Africa. It's about a girl who's always dreamt of being a doctor, and when she becomes a doctor she realises that they're short-staffed and nothing's working properly, and it's kind of the state of the South African health system. It's also about people in South Africa deciding that they don't want foreign people living there, and the revolt of that and how violent that turns into, and she does something to try and change the situation, and then something happens to her within the book. It is set in journal format, so it has a little dot to separate each of the journal things, and a lot of this is written to God, and she's asking him, why are things the way they are? Why is there so much suffering? Why have you done this to me and my life as well? This was incredible. There's so much more to tell you about this, but because I've done a whole video review, I won't ramble on. Read this, 100%. All buy this, all read it. Breathtaking, such an emotional book. Best book of the year. Loved it. And that's it. That's everything I read in July. Tell me if you've read any of these books or have any comments and thoughts and feelings on them, and I'll see you again soon for another video.